The rivers are on the drop, and I'm going to show you my top 3 lures right now to be using to maximize your success on these aggressive fish that are going to be ready to go. Check this out. Now, if we're going to talk the first lure of my choice, it's going to be a spinner. Honestly, the most aggressive coho in the bunch on a river dropping are going to absolutely slam spinners. Anything from your typical blue foxes, our Holy Moly Customs. Here's a River Fisher Hoochie spinner. You got Steelhead Slammer is a great one. One of my absolute favorites of all time, the Wicked, little 1/2 ounce inline. A Meps. And the old heavy body Flying Sea. Spinners bring out the most aggressive fish in the group. You can bring these across all different types of runs, from heads of pools to the slow, deeper areas. You're going to be able to pick off these aggressive fish. And one of my favorite reasons to throw the spinner is the grab. You can feel that blade thumping in the current, and that fish will not lightly hit those things. 90% of the time, they absolutely freight train them, and there's nothing better than feeling that slam. Frankly, my biggest fish ever, coho anything, was on a Blue Fox spinner, number 5, 21-pound coho salmon when I was 12 years old. Absolutely something I will never forget, and that feeling has stuck with me to why hardware is my favorite to grab. So let's talk about it then. What am I throwing this on, right? A lot of this time of the year and river drops after a high water, I am chasing upper tributary fish, okay? I have started to really fall in love with the 8.5 foot to 7 foot rods for this kind of scenario with tributary fishing. The reasoning why on these shorters, this one's a 7 footer, it allows me to get into tighter spots, make easy, quick casts into the heads of holes, little slots that I can fish these things through, and really end up getting the aggressive fish, as I said. So it really helps to be able to target these spots appropriately, and the accuracy with the smaller rod is going to be way better, in all honesty, and it's easier to cast. Now, if you're breaking out into these upper tributary areas where you have a lot more room to cast, 8.5 foot to 9 foot spinner rods all day long, absolutely. But I love these little small rods. These are essentially bass rods. They work great for twitching. I got a 3,000 size reel, 12-pound test mono on my spinning rods. Right there, number 4 Vibrex with one of our custom squid skirts on there, okay? It works really well. Fish absolutely slam this. So something I will point out, if I'm running spinners, I like to do one of two things, okay? Most of our traditional spinners have just a loop, right? The loop at the top of the wire. You can see that there. So what I have done is I get a really good ball bearing swivel and a little crankbait snap or some kind of dual lock to create my own snap swivel. Now the reason why I do this versus buying another one that's already pre-made is I know that that dual lock is going to be extra strong. I don't always trust that those snap swivels are going to hold on a bigger fish. So I make the effort to have something I know is going to work, tying all those good knots like our ward knot I've shown in previous videos. This thing is ready to rock and roll. That is my number 1 choice for the spinner. Now my secondary option is going to be a twitching jig. This is always rigged up on a rod for me in these types of conditions because sometimes you can find some extremely grouped up fish that are going to respond to the twitch motion. That up and down, rise and fall is an attraction smasher for these coho. This is exactly what looks to trigger them, and you can do a couple different ways about it, right? Anything from our Holy Blade twitchers, which I really like in this kind of condition when you have the fall of a river, really helps with those aggressive fish. You have the dart style heads like these Yakima bait twitchers that have squid legs built into them, absolute killers. Can even twitch with a rubber worm like that X Factor tackle tail on the back of that. Here's just your standard ball head twitcher with rabbit fur, and then you can get these combined ones that have marabou and rabbit and really work well in some of the slower water because all this marabou really breathes. But you can't forget hoochie jigs. These fall completely different, side to side, go all over the place, and you twitch them, they don't fall straight. That is a benefit of this. They make a lot of movement, and that can be even more so a bite getter on fish. So I always have hoochie jigs with me. But that's my number 2. Always got a rod rigged up with a squid or a twitcher. Oh, how about the gear for twitching, right? Here's a cool little marabou one here. 7'6" rod. Braided line is the difference. I got 20-pound test braid here. 7'6" velocity. It's a great little rod. It's an 8 to 15 perfect rod for this style. Really is a great compact rod. And the reason for smaller, guys, if you didn't know, twitching rods with a smaller setup lengthwise is going to help you overall. You're going to less fatigue. You're really going to help yourself out on a full day on the water. And again, the smaller size helps you accurately cast. And when you're fishing those runs off the bank in particular, you can quick pitch and you can get to stuff that doesn't have to have a giant rod with you. So what I showed you with that other rod can also do the same thing. So I usually have one rod with a hardware like a spinner, and then I have another rod with a twitcher, and that's typically what you mostly need. That's number 2. I still have a third option here, so let's check it out. And now last but not least, we got the spoon. And here's where I love, because the spoon comes into play in a couple different ways. There's different stuff like the steely spoons or a steelhead version like that. Some of these, the Clear Drift Tackle Typhoon spoons. You got everything from your river fishers to your BC Steels. There is a ton of different spoon brands on the market, but spoons bring a different aspect to where you can swing through these runs and get these fish to get that wobble and flash in front of their face. I carry these 2 different styles. One's more of a teardrop that really likes to flutter in a little bit faster water. But these style really shine in a little bit slower pools. You can really even twitch these, honestly, and get some really massive strikes out of these coho that are aggressive. So spoons are my third option. I always have them in my bag with me. Typically, though, this is used after I've ran spinners. So it's my third option, using the same hardware rod, and we're rocking and rolling with those 3. Now, with that being the case, that's 3 lures, right? You tell me what your favorite are below, and if you want to see how to fish some spinners and do some modifications onto them, check this video right here, and we'll catch you on the water this week. Fish on!